Neeraj, can we start? Hello, everyone. My name is Rajiv. Rajiv Iyer. I am from Mumbai, and welcome to yet another workshop of carb counting with AI and the Blue Circle Diabetes mobile app. Uh, Today, we are going to discuss about carb counting, and the best part about this workshop today is that we are going to introduce you to the new feature that we have developed. That is, we have integrated artificial intelligence into the Blue Circle Diabetes mobile app. And with the help of this feature, you would be able to calculate your carbohydrate and insulin ratios, and you will get an understanding about how much insulin you should take if you are consuming any specific amount of food. So, and also we have introduced another feature which is Ask Nupur. It's basically to get uh, information, anything and everything about to know anything and everything about diabetes. So we're going to look into much more detailed aspect about all these features. So, so before we actually move ahead with this with the mobile app presentation, I would like let me introduce actually myself. I'm so sorry about that. I am myself Rajiv Iyer. I am a type 2 diabetic. I'm born and brought up. I'm living in Mumbai, and I'm 41 years old. And also, I have my colleague. My colleague's name is Neeraj Dhanwani. He's a T1 diabetic. And over to you, Neeraj.
Hello guys, welcome to another workshop with Blue Circle. So my name is Neeraj Dhanwani. I've been a type 1 diabetic for the last 10 years now. Uh, I'm in Mumbai and I'm a finance professional. Yep. And we'll be going over, as Rajiv mentioned, we'll be going over mostly about the carb counting and how the Blue Circle has developed an amazing app and makes our life even more simpler. So Rajiv will start and then we'll go over the app on that.
Sure. Um, Dear friends, before we proceed with the carbohydrate counting, we would like to just concentrate and give you a small gist about when it comes to diabetes. As you know, we need to concentrate more on healthy eating. So when we talk about healthy eating, what exactly do we mean? Because the diet and blood sugar, they are so directly related that whatever you eat is going to affect your blood sugar. So so when we talk about healthy eating, the most important aspect is carbohydrates. So carbohydrates is one of the nutrient of a food which is directly linked to increasing your blood sugar. So what one should do to maintain a blood sugar and avoid hyperglycemia is that one should choose for a more of a lower carbohydrate foods and go for or probably rather choose more of a foods which are high in fiber and also and also with good amount of protein. So this is the basic small crux about when we are choosing about healthy eating. So when we talk about healthy eating, first is it could be a low carbohydrate food, high foods which should be in high in fiber, and foods with good amount of protein. And also, normally healthy eating, we would also say that you should not consume food which are in, high in fat content. So when we talk about fat content, it's like food which is fried, which are deep fried foods or which are food which are uh, having more of an LDL cholesterol, or probably which will cause your which will actually directly increase your blood sugar. So saturated fats. So in fats we have two type of fats: saturated fat and unsaturated fat. So you should avoid saturated fat and prefer more unsaturated fat. When we talk about protein, we should when you should choose more of a lean protein and not like say for example when you're eating chicken. So what happens is that you should not go for a deep fried chicken. You should probably prefer a chicken curry. This is just an example. So healthy eating and diabetes is very important. And with the help of healthy eating, we now move on to the next section of our discussion, that is food groups. So in food groups, we have three main aspects. So, say for example, if you pick up any specific food, like say for example, dal or watermelon or an apple, any food would have three major nutrient info. That is, one is carbohydrate, other is protein, and the third one is fat. So, look, coming to the first part of carbohydrate, so majority of friends, you would be taking, some of you would be taking tablets, or some of you who are type 1 or type 3C or LADA, you would be taking insulin. So when you're taking insulin, you would have to, understand like how your food is going to affect your blood sugar. So so our diabetes, Blue Circle Diabetes mobile app has a feature called as ICR and ISF, that is insulin to carbohydrate ratio and insulin sensitivity factor. So these are the two main aspects which will actually help you to understand, like, say for example, if I'm taking a lunch which is a khichdi or maybe a chapati bhaji and dal rice, so how much insulin I should take. So that is basically when you're bolusing your insulin, how much insulin I'm supposed to take. So I hand over to Neeraj, who will explain you further on about ICR ISF.
Hey guys, so so there are basically, like Rajiv said, there are basically two things if you're staying on insulin. So basically, there are two things that is important. So one is your insulin to carb ratio. So basically, that the first part will tell you how much you per unit of insulin you need if you're taking a certain amount of carbohydrate. So for that, again, your carbohydrate counting should be on point, and then according to the formula, based on that you'll know how to calculate your insulin to carb ratio. The other thing is your insulin sensitivity factor. So say suppose your sugars are very high, and basically you want to get your sugars in within your target range. So how much unit you will need based on your reading currently to get that sugars in range. So on the first point, that is your insulin to carb ratio. So the formula is 500 divided by a total daily dose. So your total daily dose will include your short acting that you take along with your meals. For example, a Novo Rapid, Act Rapid kind of insulins, and along with that your basal insulin, which could be Lantus, Tresiba, or any kind of other units that you take. So basically, if your total units once you know is say for example it's 20 units, so when you divide 500 by 20, so your insulin to carb ratio is 25. So basically for every 25 grams of carbohydrates you will need 1 unit of insulin to basically to understand what your insulin to carb ratio is. And on the other part, your insulin sensitivity factor. So the formula there is 1700 divided by a total daily dose. So again, your total daily dose, as we decided, was say 20 units. So if you're 1700 by 20, that your formula. So your ISF comes to 85. So if your sugar is high by 85, say if your target is 120 and your sugar is at for example in this case 205. So if you want to get your sugars to 120, and in absence of any other insulin, in absence of any other bolus insulin, so to get your sugars to 120 you need 1 unit of correction unit to get your sugars within the range of 120. So that is how we calculate. And when if you're not on any if you're on a regular kind of insulin, say like an you know then the formula changes to 1500. For example, huminsulin R or Actrapid kind of insulin. So in that case, the formula from 1700 is changes to 1500. So Blue Circle has developed this calculator, which you just put in your daily dose. So if you see the three top arrows on the left hand side of the app, uh, you'll see there you'll see the menu, and there you'll see a calculator option. So you go on the calculator, you just so that's the ISF and ICR calculation. So once you click on that, you just need to put what is your total daily dose of insulin. And in this case, you just put what is your insulin, and then the app will just calculate your say insulin to carb ratio and the insulin sensitivity factor. So that makes your life simpler in that case. So that is what the app shows. And on the other part of like the AI part, we'll just take it a bit later, and once we are done with the various food groups, like Rajiv was just discussing.
Yes. So coming to the various food groups we have, so we have covered as you saw that with the help of the app you can calculate the insulin to carb ratio and the insulin sensitivity factor. So now, say for example, you're having your lunch, and when you're having your lunch, and say for example, you want to know that you want to get information about how much amount of carbohydrate is present in a certain specific item. So what you can do is that you can go to the food app widget, um, and you can search for the you can all you need to do is type in the food item name, and it will give you the nutrient info. So also what you need to do is from your for iOS and Android users, just go to the home screen, and uh, below the you will find a search box below the the daily pattern of your sugar, which tells you about the monthly, weekly, and 3 months average. Just below that, you will find a search box. Just click over there, and you can just type in, like, say for example, watermelon or dal or khichdi, anything and whatever you. So yeah. So and just so this will give you information about the amount of carbohydrates, protein, and fat available in your in that food, and also based on your total daily usage that you calculated. So you would have calculated your ICR and ISF. So based on that, it will also give you the amount of uh, uh, you know uh, carbohydrates or the coverage that you need to have for your sugar, and also it gives you information about um, general information about the glycemic index, and it gives you more detailed information about that specific food item, how it impacts your blood sugar. So you can all you need to do is you need to be more specific whenever you type in. So say for example, uh, you're having say moong dal, or maybe moong dal khichdi, or maybe say for example you're having bangan, or maybe bindi, or maybe for maybe anything whatever you're having in your lunch or dinner. Just type in the food item over there, and it would give you the breakdown of nutrient info, and accordingly you can straight away calculate your uh, the amount of insulin you need to cover your food. So yeah.
Yes, so again, you can use a lot of food items. Basically, if you just want to know the carbs and how much, an estimate on how much it will raise your sugars. So even on the top of the screen, if you see, there's your live running sugars. So the more you keep on inserting, the more you use the app, the more it will give you a clear picture on how to be using it. So say if you have to type, say, in the food item, kind of a high protein item like chicken tikka, so again uh, there it can give lot of other options as well, like, so then it there you can see the carbs and the proteins, the various macros that Rajiv was talking, the carbs, proteins, and fats that are coming from it. It gives you a description of what actually the food item is. So if you just want to know about a particular food item which you're not very well aware, say you have traveled to some other state and you don't know what a specific item is, you can just search on it, like, I did not know what varan bhat was. So when I just if you just type in varan bhat, and you can get a detail on what is
You just want to know about a particular food item.
yeah. So what is based on the quantity also, for us diabetics, glycemic index is very important. So so it also tells you whether it's worth having the food or based on the glycemic index. So accordingly you can take a decision on whether you should be taking the food or not. And it also gives you at the bottom, if you see it, it shows you how much that particular food item will raise your blood sugars. And the best part is that it gives you detail on what that particular food item is all about, and based the glycemic index is also there, and how much the proteins, carbs, and fats come from it. And then uh, and then at the bottom right, so we have a AI chatbot. So right now, it's Ask Nupur. We are looking for names for the chatbot. So it would be great if people could suggest names in either in the chat box, either on the Facebook group, or you can even reach out to Nupur to give your suggestions on the names. And who knows, you might be lucky and the name could finally get selected as well. So as we are on the screen of, once you click on Ask Nupur, and that's the chatbot name currently, and so there you can just type in. So this chatbot it will only answer diabetic specific questions. If you want to know what is lantus, for example, so it will, for now we have just written what is insulin, and if you just type in what is lantus, it will tell you exactly. So it's like your diabetes learning app. Everything related to diabetes, you can just type in and just learn about it and get your basics correct. And everything about diabetes is, this is your one place to go for your diabetes. So so that's basically, so what is basal testing again? So everything related to diabetes, it will answer, and it will give you a very detailed explanation on it. In fact, but if you type in, say, any questions other than that's diabetic related, it will not give you a correct answer, or not even an answer in that case. So if you had to type what is uh, what is the anything apart from diabetes, is, you'll not get an answer for it. So this is a basically a diabetic specific chatbot. uh, so basically, yeah, who is Donald Trump, for example? So you're not going to get an answer for that, proper answer. So please limit your questions related to diabetes on this. So how many types of diabetes exist? So there you can see, it's giving you a lot of clear answers and detailed answers and on that. So again, as I said, it's your complete go-to place for your diabetes related things. And again, I'll just repeat that we are looking to change the name. So it would be great if you could just drop in your suggestions to Nupur, or either on the Facebook group, whatever works. So yep. Is there anything, Rajiv, you want to add on this?
No, I think we have covered in much detail, and I think it's a very great feature that will help us uh, get more information, anything and everything about diabetes.
Yep. Yeah. See, that's a yeah, that's a very important question as well, that we have thrown. Can a 45-year-old get type 1 diabetes? The basic answer is yes, but you can see the detailed explanation as well coming from the chatbot there. So it's like I said, it's your go-to place for your diabetic related questions. So the more you ask questions, the more it will get trained, and it will help the community at large. So keep on asking questions, keep on getting it trained. So that will be helpful for everyone. Yep. I think I'll just look at the comments if we have any questions.
I think Parul has a question regarding how we can calculate portions and carbohydrate.
So I think the first question from Parul came was, could you explain ICR once more? So again, so I'll just go on that. So ICR is basically your insulin to carb ratio. Okay, so if you want to know how much units of insulin you need for the amount of carbs you're having in a particular meal, so that is your formula. So the formula is 500 divided by a total daily dose. So for example, if you're based on your today's complete dose, that is you're including a long acting plus a short acting, you're say taking 20 units. So in that case, so when you divide 500 by 20, uh, your insulin to carb ratio is 25. So for every for 25 grams of carbohydrates, you need 1 unit of short acting insulin. So that is basically what your ICR is. So if you're, for example, if you're having 50 units of 50 grams of carbohydrates in your meal, so basically since 25 grams covers one unit, so for 50 grams of carbohydrates, you'll require 2 units in that particular meal. So that is what ICR is about. Uh, is there any easy way to measure the portions? Yes. Probably what I do from my experience, I can tell you. So everything I do is what's more important is to keep your meals kind of fixed. It will get boring, but it should be fixed. And basically what I do is I measure everything raw. I have a small weighing scale at home, so I measure everything raw and keep, and my portions don't change. That way it gets boring, but it's ideal in case of your diabetes management. So basically anything, if you're trying new, you should have a small weighing scale at home. So according say if you're having watermelon, so you could just put in the amount that you're going to have, put it in a bowl and use the weighing scale. And that way you will know how much grams of watermelon you're having. And then according to uh, the app, the way the food thing that we just showed, so based on that you'll know how much grams of carbohydrates are there in watermelon. So if 100 grams has say 20 grams of carbohydrates, and if you're taking 50 grams of watermelon based on the weight, so you know that you're taking at a particular point of time, you're taking 10 grams of carbohydrates. I hope that was clear. So that is the way that I would use to to measure the portions. Keep a small weighing scale. You could just use Amazon and just buy it. It will cost you around 400 to 500 rupees, but it's worth the investment, is what I can tell you.
Yep.
The portions, yeah. Yes, yeah, weighing scale is where I think it will be helpful. So the first part is, again, I'll just repeat, just use a weighing scale. First, measure the amount of the gram of that particular food that you're having. Then use the Blue Circle app to know how many grams of carbohydrates. So the app, I think, will give you the number of carbs from a standard portion. So it will tell you that there are 50 grams of carbohydrates in 100 grams of that dish. So based on that, you'll know how many grams you're having. So then you can calculate how much carbs you're going to be having. So I think that's a good starting point, and according to that, you could keep changing your insulin doses. Anything, Raji, from your angle that you think on the portions that you would want to?
Yeah, I think the only thing is that, when we are getting the carbohydrate information from the widget, it gives you a sample portion size. Like, say, for example, if you're looking for carbohydrate, the amount of carbohydrate that is there in watermelon or mango, it will give you the amount of. It gives you an example, like for every 100 grams there is 25 amount of carbs, or 30 amount of carbs. So as you said, like as Neeraj said, that if you are so you just need to refer the amount of carbs based on the sample size, and then you need to take your weighing scale and measure the weight of your food, and then calculate accordingly, and you're good to go.
Yep, exactly. Yep, that's right. So even see, the chatbot was also giving you a detailed explanation about portions. So Parul, your question is also getting answered from that chatbot as well. Uh, so Usha's
Usha,
question, next question.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah, sorry, Rajiv, you were saying something.
Usha has a question, like, how much amount of
Yeah,
carbs diabetics should take in a day. So this is something, it's based on, it's actually based on user preference. But
yeah,
if one is following a diabetic plate method, like wherein half of your plate is filled with vegetables and protein, and one fourth is protein, and one fourth is uh, fiber, or dal, or dal. So you would be able to reduce a carbohydrate content. So
Right.
there are a couple of ways actually. One could actually take a look at how we consume our food. So the first thing is, like, when you are actually choosing your food, the first thing is that you need to choose your food which is uh, low in carbohydrates. So when we talk about carbohydrate, like roti, or like our Indian diet is majorly comprises of dal, roti, chapati, bhaji. So,
Right. Yeah.
rotis and chapatis are high in carbohydrates. Rice is also high in carbohydrates because it's a non-starchy food. So you need to consume food which are low in starches. So if you're, say, for example, if you're taking two chapatis, then you need to ensure that you consume twice the amount of salads or vegetables, and
Hmm.
also you will consume more of dals, so that would actually reduce the amount of carbohydrate. In totality, you would end up consuming less of carbs. So if when you're eating your food, you should choose more of vegetables and leafy greens.
Hmm.
Like, say, for example, you would palak or methi are the best choices. And then when you would probably I would probably choose more of pulses, like moong dal, tur dal, chana
Right.
dals,
Yeah.
and these dals are actually, and then also beans like rajma, moong, black-eyed beans, chickpeas, uh, black beans, etc. So all these
Right.
are actually very low carb content food. So you need to. So these are the and also when you're talking about we talk about protein. So somehow some people who are not vegetarian, sorry, some people who are only vegetarian, they would find a challenge in compensating on carbohydrate content. So some people, they end up, they would prefer to go for protein powders. So, and some people who eat non-vegetarian, they can consume fish and chicken, so which is
Right.
there, and fish and chicken is high in omega 3 and protein as well. So when we eat more of fish and chicken, the carbohydrate content is very less. And yeah. So Neeraj, if you want to add more on anything.
I think so. Again, as Rajiv pointed, like uh, it depends on your food preferences. So if you're a vegetarian, again, like I'm a vegetarian, so you know you have to limit your carbohydrates. So um so you have to limit the lower the better the carbohydrates that you take. So basically, a good estimate would be a good starting point would be lesser than 30 grams per meal. But if you're a non-vegetarian, again, it's quite easy. If you have chicken and fish, uh, it has a lot of protein as well, so it keeps you full as well for a longer period of time. So the challenge is you're being a vegetarian. So again, it depends on your food preferences, but a good starting point is don't, if you're trying to reduce your carbs, don't go zero all of a sudden. If you're used to having, say, four rotis, first reduce it to three, then come down drastically. So if you do it at one go, uh, there will be challenges, and you will in fact end up binging a lot. So if you're trying to reduce your carbs, take smarter choices. uh, and maybe low carb rotis could help. You get these ready-made atas. I know they are quite expensive, but it can be helpful in that case. Like Kausha saying she's vegetarian, I think maybe trying to reduce your main source of carbohydrate, that is roti rice, will be helpful, and trying to fill yourself with more fibrous foods and proteins uh, would be quite helpful to you.
Yes, and moreover, whenever you're choosing carb, the carbohydrate should be complex carbohydrates. Like there are two types of carbs. So, one is simple and the other is complex. So let's not get into the technical stuff. To make it more simpler, like bajra or jawar or millets. These are all complex carbs. Basically, they are low in carbs and they take long time to even digest. So whenever you eat a bajra roti or a jawar ka roti, it's very filling. So your stomach will fill very fast, and you don't have to eat a roti or wheat roti. If you're eating four chapatis, then you would probably have just two rotis of bajra or jawar.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
complex carbs is more preferable in such cases, and yeah, and also if you want to track your carbohydrate content, you could actually look at the glycemic index of the food. So, like in our Blue Circle Diabetes mobile app, whenever we are looking at the food info or the getting the nutrient info, it gives us the glycemic index as well. So, basically, glycemic index is a measure how quickly your food raises the blood sugar level. So the more the so there are three levels of glycemic GI, that is a low, medium, and high. So
yeah,
0 to 55 is the low, 56 to 59, 69 is median, and anything beyond 70 is high. So you should choose you should choose the glycemic index of any specific particular food should be less than 70. That is the best thing to so that it doesn't raise your blood sugar drastically.
yeah. Again, so that kind of information is available on the app as well. So if you can see, we've just typed in sabudana. So good starting point to see in the middle. If you see the glycemic index that is written there, so if it's high, I would avoid that kind of food item, even if your sugars are in range. So the app is quite helpful in that regard, and it helps you making decisions. So again, Parul was saying multigrain rotis. Yes, multigrain rotis are definitely better than wheat rotis. I take multigrain rotis, like I take bajra rotis and jawar rotis basically. So that's helpful in keeping you full also for some more hours. But again, the carb contents is not nearly the same as is the case with wheat rotis. So yeah. So Pratibha has a question. My husband has LADA. He takes insulin basal 8 units at night. It worked for a few months, but now gain sugar levels are high. He follows diabetic diet, but still is difficult to manage. I think Pratibha, a good starting point would be to consult the doctor. I think you can't be taking the help of a professional for modifying your insulin doses is what I would recommend. And then based on the diet preferences, because your basal, you need to do a basal testing, uh, and then according to that, you'll need to modify your you know insulin, the basal as well as the bolus. So once the basal and bolus are on point, then basically the sugars will start coming in range. But I think immediately, if your sugars are definitely above 250, 300, I would consult the doctor immediately, because it's not, I think it could get serious. So I would suggest you reaching out to the doctor. Yes, that's right. And then for diet changes, if any, you can reach out to the group, and as we just discussed, you can make use of the app to see whether see the diabetic diet. I'm not sure what the diabetic diet is, but you need to be quantifying your carbs, calculate the carbs, and then accordingly taking the insulin based on that. Yep. Rajiv, anything that you think you want to add on this, or any other point?
Yeah, I mean, so yes, just one last point is that apart from glycemic index, I would like to share one more pointer is the glycemic load. So, say for example, glycemic index, and yeah, we saw that what glycemic index is. So, glycemic index will tell you, how faster your sugar level will raise. But say for example, you're taking say for example glycemic, then we have one more index which is called as a glycemic load. It will tell you how much food what amount the food it will raise your blood sugar level.
Right.
So say for example you're taking 100 grams of watermelon and it has 5 grams of carbohydrates and its glycemic index is 72. So
Hmm.
if we calculate the glycemic load, it is just 3.6, which is on a lower scale. So in glycemic load, it is so. See, for example, if you take a high GI food and the glycemic index is low, then you have you need to take a lesser quantity of the food. So there is a permutations and combination involved in this. So say for example, in glycemic load, we have low, medium, and high. So
Right.
anything less than 20 is medium, and anything less than 10 is low. So I would probably prefer a low to medium glycemic load food, and that would actually give me an idea, like how much, uh, how much amount of quantity I can actually risk of take a risk of having the food and ensure that my blood sugar doesn't rise faster. See, for example, like in the summer season, we all love to have mangoes. So what we can do is that we can eat mangoes, but ensure that the quantity is less. So basically, the quantity part is the glycemic load, and the index part of the sugar is
Yeah.
the glycemic index. So that is how
Yes.
you can actually calculate. So if you just put it in a very straightforward manner, you can just use the widget app, and actually it will just tell you the amount of carbohydrate it has.
Hmm.
So and you can just calculate your insulin dosage, and you can you cover up the spike.
Yes, that's right. I think yes, that was quite helpful. So I'll just check once again if we just missed out on of any questions or anything. Yeah, my daughter is. My daughter is 4 year old and she gets low at midnight. When I give her protein at night, her sugar rises and I have to give correction. And if not give protein, then blood sugar goes low. If she's going low, basically you need to check the post dinner first of all, reading, and then you also need to check, probably do a basal testing, get in touch with the doctor. And if she goes low at that point of time, I think you need to first give her an some kind of an instant carb, like glucon D or something that will rise her sugars well and get her in range. Because if you start giving protein, that will give a delayed rise. So that's not helpful at that point of time. Maybe you can give a protein a little later, but at that point of time you need to first get the sugars in range, from low to within range. So first what I would suggest, do a basal testing and get in touch with the doctor. uh, and accordingly I think she needs, she's in a, I don't know when she's diagnosed and whether she's still in a honeymoon phase and maybe just getting out of her honeymoon phase. So it could be a lot of factors. So I would reach out to the doctor, get the dosages right, and then basically you can take it from there, based on, then accordingly you can give her the foods based from that level.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, I think we've covered everything. So thank you guys, and again, as we said, we are looking for chatbot names. So throw in your suggestions, maybe in the chat box, or reach out to Nupur, or on the Facebook group, and that would be quite helpful for the community. And keep asking the chatbot a lot of questions, and it will help you train yourself, and as well as the chatbot. So basically, yeah. How to yep, so that yeah, again, see, a basic question: how to reduce your A1C. It will give you a lot of diabetic related tips. there. So thank you guys for joining in, and hope to see you guys next Sunday 5 p.m. same time on the same time same place. Thank you, Rajiv. It was great
Thanks. Thank you,
having
Neeraj.
this with you.
Thanks.
Thank you
Bye.
guys. Thanks everyone. Bye.